welcome, guys. Here we are. My name is Schaunn-Anthony Thomas. I'm joined here with Justin Scott, and today we're joined by a very special guest here to talk to you about an upcoming IP big business and the art of the deal. So, without further ado, I'll bring on the man himself, Ryan.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
All right. What going on? Everything
I'm
cool?
all right, right? What's going on? What's going on? For
Can't
those who don't
complain.
know
It's
you,
been good.
just introduce yourself a little bit.
All right, I'm Ryan Strachan. I'm a Jamaican stockbroker, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents for clients and myself. As of right, I'm at GK Capital. I'm a vice president investor relations. I'm an investor, businessman, husband, Christian, Rotarian, G2K president, and the list goes on. So I just love finance and business and creating value. And I get up every day and just want to do stuff that's cool and special and that's historic. So to the extent that I can, and as I say, I'm in Jamaica. So other people might say it's not possible in Jamaica, but I differ. So I'm still believing and still going for it.
Definitely, man. Yo, very few people I know that have drive like Ryan.
All right,
Man,
love that. I
wears
believe
all
that. That's
that,
why I say
does all the road, does
it's
all the
two-term
business.
G2K president. Congrats to the man himself.
Unconsistent, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Thank you. Yes, third term now, just started, so tidying up some loose ends to try and finish strong. Thank you. But yeah,
So,
drive is part of life,
absolutely.
It's critical to get to deliver on one's objectives as to be driven. And the thing with me is success drives me more. So, some people will achieve something and then they're satisfied. I mean, I celebrate for an afternoon, but then it's like back to work, let's do something else so we can get this feeling again and then go for it again. Let's try to do it bigger as well. So that's what's up.
Yeah, that remind me of the Elon Musk tweet the first time. Imagine that the first time he was like the richest man in the world, just like wow, strange. Back to work.
Back to work. Back to
Yeah,
work.
just like that. But for sure. But yeah,
All
man.
right, all right.
So right about now, we're about to get into business, talking about some of the big news shaking up everything in the market right now. Right. First
Yeah.
off, the highly anticipated Spur Tree IPO. All right.
Good deal. Let's talk
Good
about it. What you
deal
guys
in
want
a
to know?
sense.
Let's take a big
Yeah.
All right. Let's start. Very, very simple. Just tell us, why are they listing?
Spur Tree
What are they hoping to do?
Spur Tree is listening to facilitate expansion. It's a business that's been around for a long time. It's probably approaching 20 years, but they've bootstrapped their way forward for a long time. They've built an amazing brand. They've built amazing products, amazing brand loyalty without the kind of spend you would associate with a company like that. At the end of the day, when businesses go on the junior market, want to be surprised by how much they get done with so little. And Spur Tree, like any SaaS business or any SaaS, is actually a combination of a number of factors. And their story is a long one. You're talking about people who met each other at the three principals who were not all there at the start, met each other at Island Grill at different times. And one left and started a restaurant with Shivnara and Shandapal in Mandeville. And then eventually that folded for whatever reason. And he then went to New York and blending up stuff on road shows and with a blender to sell to people or to use the seasoned meat and then have the people try the cooked product and be like, wow, I really like this. Which then led him to joining forces with his partner who's exited the business. And then now they start to grow a little bit. But by that time, they were doing I would say 95, 98, 99% of their business outside of Jamaica.
Okay.
And then eventually they said, well, we now need an administrator. So we have a salesman, we have the operating guy. So it's a Guyanese, an Englishman. They recruit a Jamaican who was at Island Grill. And then he comes in now and the CEO and is building stuff together. But if you think about the composition of the team, formally you're talking a Guyanese, I picture this, a Guyanese Englishman and Jamaican walking a bar. You actually think it's like a joke that's about to
It's
start.
a joke.
But
Yeah,
it's
definitely,
really the,
definitely.
it's really the Spur Tree principle. So with that kind of history and background and antecedents, essentially they are now becoming a more corporate entity, and that stability required or that will come with the whole matter listing, of course, is extracting value and making your holdings in this company liquid are among the
Mm.
factors. But expansion is at the heart of it. They are still, believe it or not, unable to meet their demand. And the
Really.
financial performance, yeah, and the financial performance will show that they've been still growing month over month over month. Grace Kennedy through GK Capital or GK Investments lent them 100 million at the time to help with working capital and to help them fill orders and expand, because people always think that when you're growing, it's like you just automatically keep growing, but growing actually destroys a lot of what was there before. Because if you have an order for 10, you get an order for 100, people just think, oh, well, they can just produce more. Well, they need cash to buy more inventory and more inputs, more raw materials. They need a bigger warehouse to store. And then if the supplier takes long to pay, they need cash still because they have to still pay their staff. But the
Yeah.
cash required for an order 10 times the original size could damage the business, or they could lose a lot of money because of loans, whatever, whatever. So more or less they're listening to continue their growth in a healthy way and now taking advantage of the equities market and extracting the true value of their corporation.
Okay. Okay.
All right, cool. So when you say expansion, you're
Yeah.
talking factory space.
Well, no, I mean, so I said extracting the value. That was part of it, but establishing the value. So expansion in terms of not just, I mean, having the capacity to meet more orders.
Mm.
I don't even think we're at the point now where we're talking about them buying their own building to build a fit for purpose factory, because I think over the last 7 years, their square footage has gone from like 2,000 to last check, copper mines like 11,000. I think they
Okay.
may even be at 15,000 now. So they're buying out, like they're taking more of the Garmex free zone where they're based for lease, for leasing, because they just don't have enough space. They're outpacing their footprint, original footprint. So it's really just to have more cash to facilitate the growth and the meeting of orders, etc., etc. That I mentioned before.
And this is in complete contrast with, because I imagine that it's pretty heavy competition in the spice and sauce market locally.
Yeah, but they still do 70% of their business overseas. So I mean, really, Jamaica is so small that really anybody who's competing in the manufacturing space is not really. They compete, but it's like trying to climb to the top of a 1 foot ladder.
Yeah.
When you're saying to New York, when you're saying to New York, I mean, we know one supply in Jamaica can meet even 10% of New York's demand.
Mm.
So we know local players really and truly. Yes, Jamaica, they'll compete locally to whatever extent, but when you're going overseas, you're talking about a collaboration. So the Walker's Woods, the Spur Trees, the Grace Kennedy
Right.
Peppers, all of those ones, they're just collaborating. So they'll fill their containers together because they're
Mm.
so small relative to the market overseas. And that's where Spur Tree's business was built. So, I mean, at one time, I don't even think they were that concerned with selling in Jamaica because overseas demand was so robust.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
like I said, we're looking at about like 70, 80% of our sales are we talking overseas. and then further from there now, you'd say they pretty much dominate that side of the market for at least spice and sauce exports compared to like a Walker's would and so forth.
Well, no, I mean, I guess where I'm going with it is that they all have their niche markets, and they all are able to sell to these markets without trampling on each other because they're so small relative to the markets they're serving that they can all cooperate.
Okay.
So I
So
wouldn't be surprised if you don't see more of these players merging just to increase their footprint and extent to which they're able to offer products to the overseas counterpart, overseas buyers.
interesting. Merging officially, or just merging in terms of shipping and those kind of things. What are you
Let's
suggesting?
wait and see.
No, I think
And
it's kind of how I think about these things. I mean, listen, if I was a private equity player and I had, I don't know, pick a number, I had 5 billion Jamaica, so I had 35 million US. I would try and buy two sauce manufacturers and
Fair,
create efficiencies of scale and serve the markets more efficiently. I think that
fair.
persons may find that appealing. Now you have one that's listed publicly, it can't be discounted because that's
True.
just the next logical step. I mean,
Very
it's no
true.
separate. You can imagine that a business like that would be in demand by every major food player. I mean, how else would the larger guys grow? Unless
true.
they're going to develop their own, so you can spend money to develop your own or buy. I'm a
Mm,
path of least resistance guy, so I'd buy, but that's just me.
fair. All right, all right. So given that you said that it is that they're raising for expansion and among other
Yeah,
things, but the main
yeah,
focus being expansion,
yeah.
how much is it that they're looking to raise?
Prospectus, I don't remember the exact number. I think it's 335 million or thereabouts. I mean, the truth is, it was going up every month because their profitability was growing literally every month. So if you look at the numbers in the prospectus, it'll show you. I think when I got the deal, it was they're probably doing 40 million of profit, I think. And I think
Mm-hmm.
now they're on track to do like 120, and this is over
Nice.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So so you're talking about pretty aggressive growth. And remember, these 2 years are COVID years.
That's what I was thinking.
These are COVID
Oh,
years. Yeah, it's COVID years. So their
so it ended
growth
up working
has
out in their favor.
multiplied. Yeah, their growth has multiplied over
You
that
you think
time.
do you think
Yes.
the COVID would have strengthened their sales in any way, given that people were home and those kind of things more
I think,
experimental if you don't use those kind of spices and those kind
Yeah,
of
more
things?
consumer consumption for you. True.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But then it's also offset by restaurants being closed. So they would supply bulk seasoning to restaurants who were shuttered, you know. And so, yes, the overseas sales would have grown and all that. But then the local presence, yes, a lot of people buy the product and it's there now. But I mean, it's offsetting, eh? One thing grows, the other one is down. So that just shows the benefit of having a diversified revenue base. You want your customer bases to be so broad that if you have a devastating event like a COVID, that you're not decimated completely, as other companies may have been.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. That's good
Mm,
because like you
yeah,
maintain the relationship in a time like this. So because things have started to rebound, like things are opening back up, people are pretty much tired of the whole situation. So yeah, things opening back up. So
definitely.
you'll find that, or at least in my view, that the relationships that you've built and maintained throughout the pandemic are only going to be strengthened now. As additionally, with all of these things being open back up again for for the revenue to really go back to what it was, or at least be on the track to what it was.
Yeah, no doubt. Because if you think about it, it's how do I put it? If you really think about it, it's like, what's the word? It's like you are getting free market exposure through COVID, because guess what happened? People bought your products in COVID, may not necessarily have been buying before, but they come out of COVID knowing that you have the best products in your weight class. So
Right.
they're not going to forget you all of a sudden. So it's almost like COVID in many ways depressed businesses in some instances or whatever, but also gave many others wide open lanes to run through, like a Spur Tree,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
instance. So I'm actually kind of glad that I got the business before COVID, because it would have been a lot more expensive after.
This guy. But yeah, I definitely find that to be true, because I mean, at the start of the pandemic, all I was buying. So my mother is a Spur Tree lover, right?
Mm,
She buys
mm,
everything from them. Um, I'm kind of picky, so I only used to use the yellow crushed pepper sauce.
mm.
Bad piece of sauce. Not gonna tell any lies.
Nice, nice,
Um,
nice.
but
Like
then
it.
so indeed as well. So I started cooking when I started working, and then I was like, so I got my full-time job during the pandemic, thankfully.
Yeah.
Um, and immediately I was like, my father uses the Spur Tree jerk seasoning as well, so I used that to start seasoning my chicken, and pretty much now my cupboard is Spur Tree, like
It's the go-to brand.
Oh,
basically.
we're not complaining, right?
I mean, them.
Yeah.
I hope they give me a nice little IPO pop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can
I got
expect. I mean, you're gonna realize people are gonna see or be impressed by the growth. And I
hmm
think, like with any IPO, the brand awareness is gonna be so wide and so broad, because
Mm.
I don't know if we've had many IPOs this year. I guess we've had some. I just don't remember them. But this is Christmas, and this is when people go in the supermarket to buy and whatever, and then you're going to have Spur Tree all over, because
Yeah,
as
it's
you see
lovely
from the
timing.
marketing, yeah, you see the marketing graphics, everything is just amazing stuff, and it's all over the place, and it's now really resonating in people's minds and pockets. So I think you'll see it's going to be it may be heavily oversubscribed if I had to bet. I think, but even with all of that said, you're still going to have runway, because people are still going to be consuming and consuming more. And I think more opportunities for them as a business will come up as a result of this. I still think they're going to need to build their own facility or lease a much bigger facility. So that will create even more economies of scale. Do they need their own farms? Yeah, because I think they do. A lot of their farming is where their acquisition of inputs is from contract farmers. So
Mm.
they may say, okay, we don't need our own farms, but do they lease land that they put farmers on? So there's so many ways they can shift the business and take the business further down that path of growth. But they've built an amazing brand. So, whatever comes after that just comes after that.
Also, the one
Interesting
the
question. Go ahead, Justin.
you know, saying also the one the whole value chain, the value chain right there, from like
Well, they could,
farms
they could,
straight to manufacturing everything.
they could, but the thing is, it's just a matter of, it's a possibility. I don't know what their thought process is. What I know is that they make a very good product as they are right now.
Mm.
So,
hmm
and I think there's ample opportunity for them to expand in that space. It's just now for the investor looking on, they can be assured that they are getting an opportunity to buy into a business that has possibilities. So I'll give you a good example. So people were saying, boy, NCB suffering the last 2 years. And I've always said to people, listen, this business minted a billionaire when he was no longer a billionaire, right? And still the biggest bank, they still have a top-notch capital markets business among whatever else, right? And but they're a very entrepreneurial bank. For a bank institution of their size, financial group, their drive is uncommon. If you look at other giants, they're not as aggressive as they would be. And then now they bust this thing called Link this week.
Yeah. I saw that.
Biggest.
It
But
could be like a cash app. If that explodes, you're talking about you have effectively solved the non-bank issue in Jamaica. So
single-handedly.
so where I'm going with it is that the whole thing, the whole scope of the possibility of new ventures in the future or new initiatives makes it appealing. That's where the investment drive or appeal is. Yes, the present is the present, but really and truly, where is it going? Or no, even that, where is it going? But where can it go? You know?
So funny as you touch on that, and I know you've given a few examples here and there. And I mean, I know you're an investor, so you can't give me all the tricks out the book. But what are some other areas that you see they could possibly grow in?
Well, I think for sure there's a whole matter of white labeling in the sense that there may be other newer brands who may want to benefit from their infrastructure, their supply chain, whatever. So their business is out here. All right, best story I can tell you that I know of. I have no insider knowledge where like Grace Kennedy is concerned. So I'm just being very clear. But they said the corned beef that's in Jamaica comes from one factory in Brazil.
Mm.
So Grace, Lasco, whoever else makes corned beef, Kendall if they do as well, and whoever else, it's just labeled. So it's just white labeling. I think that's a mass opportunity for a Spur Tree because I mean, really and truly, like if you want a particular flavor for you want to slap your label on a pepper brand, yes, do it. If you want to do it on a seasoning brand, you do it. Go further now. Suppose an international QSR, quick service restaurant, wanted a particular flavor. Could a Spur Tree supply bulk seasoning to them or a restaurant? So there's a lot more out there for them in the space that I would call the trade, which is unbranded seasoning.
Okay.
In other words, I mean, like Nando's, for argument's sake, or there's some business that's because
Big up Nando's every time.
in the ethnic market that says we want to buy bulk seasoning from these guys. So that's an area of possibility. I mean, obviously it's not easy, but there's tons of countries, South Africa, Portugal. Let's just think about it. Wherever there are black people, or there's persons of color, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole thing of mass appeal. Could be the USA too. It could be Ghana. Them say Ghana going to get all this oil, I think, in 2025, 750,000 barrels a day. And Mohan is Ghanaian. So there's just so many things that could emerge. And then now, because they're public, or will be public, all being equal, they're exposed to the public. So now people can look on and be like, I see how these guys are performing. I know all about their business. I'm assured of their due diligence practices. I want in with them. Let me see what kind of deal we can strike with them. So I think that's kind of where you're going to see a lot of business emerge for them or arise.
Okay.
All right. And with that in mind too, been thinking about just expanding into different countries and all that. How's the global shipping slowdown been impacting them?
Well, I mean, the business has grown. So thankfully, it seems they source everything from Jamaica, perhaps except buckets and the caps if it comes down to that. So it doesn't seem to have impacted them a whole lot. I think that side of things is more coming in, but going out, there's no issue.
Okay.
Because it's I mean, I suppose going out, well, I mean, logically, yes, going out to other markets, it could be an issue, but then it's near shore, no? It's just like USA, so that's just up the road. versus if they're sourcing from China, then I think that's really where the bulk of the issues arise. So I don't think they've had, I mean, everybody's been impacted, but they've obviously managed to find a way to absorb that impact without it being deleterious to business.
or too expensive for that matter.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And I mean, a $10 million net profit a month is still talking about, I mean, that's effectively making in a quarter what they've been making in a year when we first got the business. So
True.
they'll be fine.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
All right, all right. So this sounds like you're very excited about the company. So tell us what really made you want to bring it to the market, or was it that they approached you?
No, what happened was, so other people may not know, this deal was 9 years in the making. So I've never told this story publicly, so people actually would know now. So his business deal was probably 11 years in the making. Because the truth is, when I started in the business, meaning in financial advisory, I was at another broker and building my book of business. And at the time, my formative years, eh? And I got exposed. I used to work at the JMA. I was there for, I think, 6 months, which is now the JMEA. This is ages ago, though. This is like 2008. So we're talking a while. That's probably 25. And while there, I got the JMA was very helpful for me because it gave me great exposure into the manufacturing sector. And it taught me that a lot of what we think in Jamaica is made overseas, actually made here. I think manufacturers do not have enough marketing spend behind them locally because they don't really need to market to get customers. So it's a very powerful but very undercover sector in the country.
Mhm.
Anyway, right, I leave. I have some contacts from there, and I go to my first broker. I start at Mayberry, and I said, well, I'm trying to make something of myself. I'm 27, and I said, well, I've been wanting to do this from I was 18 or 19. I get my chance. Talking to other advisors there, senior guys, I say, yo, how you do it? One guy says to me, he used to cold call people. So I'm the kind of guy I would just try anything. So cold call, send emails. I start my email listing, which is no call week in a view. It's called something else before. I won't go into that. But the real early recipients know.
Yeah. Real ones
And
know.
real ones know. And one of the guys were on it. I think it must have been Dennis. Dennis was on it. Dennis or Mohan was on it. I don't know what happens. I mean, eventually I started to deal with Dennis and his wife as clients when I was at SSL. And so relationship grows, whatever. So I got to know a lot about the business while with them. And I used to go down to the factory a lot. So obviously I have a manufacturing bias and I see this wonderful brand. So I'm like, boy, I think this has the possibility to list if they want to. So every time they have the JMA Expo or whatever, I go there and visit and just see how people will react to the brand. And they're all crowding it. Now, one thing with business is people have to want to do something to actually do it and to do it well. So I can never convince somebody to list because a lot of work is very draining and it takes a lot of patience, as anybody who's been waiting on this IPO would realize. And you can't even talk about IPO like that because FSC will clamp down and you see your marketing the deal for the deal bust or whatever. So you can't talk about that. You have to be very careful. You can't prime the market, any of that stuff. Anyway, so the whole point is if people are not ready, you can see the potential, but until they see that they are interested, then it's never gonna happen. So for me, I always believe the market would have received them well. My concern is I did not want these gentlemen to go to markets and not be able to extract true value or establish true value. You don't want to list the nightmare for any stockbroker. You don't want to list a company today
Mhm.
at $1 billion or at $500 million when if they waited 6 months, they could have gone to market at $2 billion. Because effectively, you'll be giving the investors who put in 100 million for 20% and up 4 times upside overnight just because you never want to wait. So sometimes it just takes patience, you know. So I thought the branding was good. I thought the story was great. I thought the products were wonderful. I thought the fact that they were US dollar earners through export was great as well. They're manufacturers, they build in Jamaica. And again, as I said, they have strong brand equity. People like the brand. People don't even know the principles, but they like the brand. And I think that says a whole lot about it. And I don't think the principals are particularly concerned with being known either. They just want to push the brand out there. The brand isn't even from Spur Tree. Other people don't even know that stuff, you know? But the point is, the brand is such a strong one that it just made sense. It's a welcomed addition to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And
Right.
those are the factors that I think would make it work. I'm a proponent of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and I think a strong capital market in Jamaica, all as well for Jamaica. And Jamaica is having its best companies be public companies. And it virtually ticked all those boxes. So those are the reasons why I I I did not shoot down the opportunity to advance their listing. I'll put it that
Okay.
way.
All right, all right.
I'll put it that way.
So a deal
So
11 years in the making, you say.
yeah.
11 years,
Uh,
and that's the thing. So people think that a lot of this is overnight. You know, it starts. I mean, obviously, people will see. So, like when I did Creamy 8 years ago, I closed Creamy and I brought it in, whatever, whatever. I mean, that one was maybe not as long. That was 3 years. No, two, yeah, going 2 years. I'll put it that way, 2 years. But the point is, there's still persons at varying stages of their development, you know. And I think what the name Spur Tree, the timing was just right, and they were interested, they were ready,
Mhm.
and it facilitated what they needed to get done. We're very happy to help them with that. So here we are.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, for sure.
And so much says like is there raising like what 350 or
Yeah,
some million like how
like
much stake?
so
335 or something like that. I don't remember the exact number. I look back, but they were 335.
Okay, for like what 20% stake in the company or what? What are we looking at?
20% stake. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, 20% stake. And I mean, it'll be a great opportunity for anybody who gets shares. And I think again, it's not just you're not buying a company that's at the end of their road. You're buying a
Mm.
business that in 5 years you look back and be like, I wish I'd been able to buy it in the IPO because of the extent to which they're growing and developing new opportunities along the way. And in agriculture, right? So that's the other thing as well. I mean, that's big, big, big business because we'll always have to eat. So you are constantly replenishing your supply.
It's just about building out relationships. You can expand product lines even further. Because you can even move out from like the primary line of business if they feel like they have a hang on that. And from there, maybe probably even if they feel like they could come raise additional capital if they want to like build out warehousing space, production space even more. The opportunity is there.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the beauty of the market. So like the possibilities are endless and they can go so wide with it as they desire. They can graduate to the main market and say, well, we want to raise $1 billion for this facility, and we're going to do that. They're not limited to the 500 million on the junior market. If they
Exactly.
decide to stay there, that's fine as well. Because while nobody wants a tax bill, they're not listing to not have to pay tax. They are listing for the genuine reason of adding value to their business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other like sister companies, subsidiaries we should know about?
No, there's a related party one, but I'm not sure if I can speak about that. So,
Okay, that's fine. That's
but
fine.
no, they don't have ownership in it. So they had the acquisition of Exotic Foods, which is I think an Aki exporter out
Okay.
of St. Thomas. So that acquisition would have closed recently. But no, they're doing their thing otherwise. But they're entrepreneurs, you know. So
Yeah.
but those businesses are not in the Spur Tree family. This is completely separate ventures.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. That's what I like to see, man, because then that's just another opportunity to me if you look at it. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
better.
I mean, listen. At the end of the day, you know, like you build one successful firm, and from an idea, you're gonna want to build another one.
Exactly. Build out
So,
the foundation.
of course, I mean, if you have another viable idea, you're gonna want to build it out as well because you remember, you know, Jamaica now it's much easier now to go through the whole process or cycle from
Mm.
conception to getting through that 5 year period where you don't let the business may start when fail or drop on its face to then going through the whole channel of success and then you list and then you have a scope, a possibility before you do you sell a stake, do you buy somebody, do you graduate to the main market. So there's so many options before them now. It's they'll have cash now. They can probably hire more people should the need arise, more administrative staff. So then perhaps there's less burden on the founders to run the business. It's a life changing experience. So I think I don't know of any related party companies, and I don't know of any in the prospectus to that extent. But I mean, who knows what these brilliant businessmen are doing otherwise? But one thing for certain, that Spur Tree brand is not easily replicated. I mean, what you going to name your next business? Mount Rasa, if you think about it, yeah. But it's just a perfect example of something. And Mount Rasa actually not a bad name for something, but Spur Tree just catch, eh?
Yeah, it's a brand name. It's
It's
a
a
brand
brand
name.
name.
I stand behind it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Exactly.
So,
For sure.
but yes, they're going places, man. I'm very, very excited about this one.
All right. So, with that being said, what
Mm.
is it that you expect the Spur Tree listing will bring to the market as a whole now? Both the junior market and the JSE in totality.
It will bring renewed confidence because it will say to onlookers that despite the most crippling economic event of the last 100 years, there are businesses in Jamaica that are not only growing, not only surviving, but growing and still moving ahead with plans to list publicly and give the public access to their growth. Because usually in times past, you'd have businesses that, do well, but the only thing that the public will be able to access or participate in them is bad minding them because you said, John, like these guys making all this money. These guys making all
True.
this money. I can't get none. I can't even get a dividend check.
Yeah.
But now you have a Spur Tree that's explosively growing. Investors can buy in, benefit as well. So everybody can now benefit. So it's not just anymore growth that's not inclusive. It's actually inclusive growth to the extent that one wants to participate. And I
Mm.
think that adds a lot of value to the JSC in terms of how it's perceived. But more than just that, it gives credence to the JSC's ability to continue to create wealth for Jamaicans or whoever decides to invest in it. So what it's going to add, I mean, imagine I don't know if the whole, I don't think Spur Tree, the ticker can be Spur Tree because, it's eight digit, eight letters. I think, I don't know if anybody this has more than seven. I mean, Fosterich is seven, but the whole thing is, I mean, if you see
Isn't
Spur,
Cabroca's like? More than 7.
ABR. Yeah, so they could have Spur Tree, yeah. So
They
in
could they
addition
could
to
do Spur
bringing,
Tree.
yeah. So in this, I don't know that one. I don't know about that part. What they're
Yeah,
gonna do with it. They
I don't
haven't
know
asked my
how they did
opinion.
that.
No, they
to
haven't
find
asked my
space so that
opinion.
them do.
They haven't asked. They haven't asked my opinion, so I have no information on that. But either way, it's gonna bring a cool name. It's gonna bring a Jamaican name onto the market. Because I mean, yes, you have our Jamaica Brothers and this and that, but Spur Tree is like a name that the whole island know. You know, it's as Jamaican as Aki. You know, it's like it's amazing. It's just an indigenous brand name led by an international founder base. It's crazy.
Love it,
I
man.
mean,
Love it.
it's special. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, man.
And I mean, I think it's very
Love
interesting.
it.
What do you think in terms of the fact that it's such a different type of business compared to the ones that are on the market in terms of they make
Right.
spices and
Um,
sauces?
It's diverse, no? Because the thing is, people always say, "Oh, you need to own your own factory to make money." No, you don't. You just need to have access to a factory. You know, you'd say you need to be founded by, you know, first generation wealth. You really don't. You need to be founded by third generation wealth. I'm sorry, you really don't. You can be a regular businessman building your business and from the ground up. You know, you have a Guyanese partner and founder who flies everywhere. Pre-COVID, I mean, Mohan, you know, I know Mohan well. Mohan would always be on a plane selling Spur Tree, carrying it across the world. Eh? So those are those positives. I mean, not the flying every day, blah blah blah, but just the diversity of the offering. I think is a calling, as a hallmark of the business and of the deal and the opportunity. It speaks well
yeah.
of the JC. What it now says is, you know, you could be in New York and you season meat with it, with you know their all in one sausage or seasoning.
Mm.
Hmm.
And you're like, this is wonderful. You even probably might cook it and impress a young lady or whatever, you know, whoever you're cooking for. And you're just like, Jono, you know, this is funny. It's like you said, Jono, I mean, you can't even say to the girl, you know, I actually own a piece of the company. Never mind, it's 0.00001, you know, but you can still impress young lady
She
and
don't need to
say,
know that. She don't
Yeah,
need to know
personally,
that.
yeah, man.
no,
Yeah.
but you can even be like, yo, see my dividend check right here, you know, right there.
You
It's
open it
there.
in a man, but it's here.
Yeah, it's in the envelope.
But
But
it's here.
the
That's
thing
right.
is,
That's right.
the ability to participate and you show the annual report with your name on it and your address and everything, and you know, that's a different kind of flex, you know. But the whole thing is, it just adds that ability to participate in the products we consume. You know, we buy iPhones and we buy Nike shoes and Adidas shoes and all manner of different things. But it's not there are other companies. I mean, it's not really unto the junior stock market in Jamaica. You have companies listing for the most part. Because this junior stock market started a lot of this. That
Mm.
the average person actually used the products, you know, and that added. So I mean,
Telling that
25-year-old,
familiarity, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
man, like 25-year-old buying I don't know, back in the day, like dial. Like I heard about dial, but I was no dial client. I had no emotional connection to dial. You
Mm.
know, I have an emotional connection to Spur Tree though.
Oh, yeah, kind of like how people have that connection with Fontana, for
Yeah,
example.
exactly. Exactly. Every
Exactly.
time I'm going to
Exactly.
parking lot and it ram, you know, it's
Yeah.
like you go in the parking lot and you're driving around and a man want a space and you could have got a space. You say, you go on. You see, you make the man go on because you say he going to spend money and you going to get a bigger dividend eventually. You contribute to that, you know.
True.
So that's the kind of thing that I
Hmm.
think will continue to advance the country. And I think it's one of the success stories of Jamaica that we have not fully ventilated. You know, a robust capital market like ours, I mean, we're the leader in the region, if not the Western Hemisphere, excluding like America. Some other
Mm.
markets not firing, man. They're not firing. But Jamaica doing its thing. We'll need more. We need to do more. But I think we're doing a remarkable job. Big up,
Yeah, I
big up
was
the
going to
team.
big up JC every time.
Yeah, man.
I was saying that I also love the diversity that it brings. I mean, if you look at the past set of listings going as far back as Mailpack and Labden and Fontana, right? There's so many different kinds of companies that you have coming on now. They do different things. It speaks a lot to the market. I mean, when you look at, for example, the New York Stock Exchange, you have companies doing all kinds of different things. You have companies that do have physical locations set up,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, that
yeah.
are listed and those kind of things. You have pharmacies, CVS, big, you know, you have the Walmarts come straight back down, health places, technology places, all kind of stuff. So I mean, I love the diversification that it brings to the companies and the market and those kind
I
of
think
things.
it's
And
amazing. I think it's amazing. I think it's a part of the new wave. And as you said, Sean, I think the diversity is it's just it's massive. And I come back to it's Jamaican.
exactly.
Think about how many cars go over Spur Tree Hill on a daily basis, up and down. The ones that actually make it off, make it to the to the end of the road.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there is that brand connectivity,
Mm-hmm.
and it's. I really feel blessed to like be part of history. I mean, yeah, you bring the deal in and whatever, and all of that, but just to see it materialize is a wonderful feeling, and then to see it on offer to external buyers, amazing stuff. It's amazing. So maybe a
I
good
agree.
vibes this thing.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, man. Good
Wholeheartedly.
vibes this thing.
So let me actually like take a quick step back just a little bit more. So you've
Sure.
been pretty vocal about talking about BOJ's response to inflation as it is right now, with the rate hikes. And what do you think is that kind of reaction on somebody looking to raise equity right now to come to market? Like how will that affect things going forward?
It's a good question. Somebody actually asked me that. I remember must have been David Rose who asked me
Mm.
about that. I think when businesses raise capital, right, it's should be should be driven by purpose and more so than market circumstances, which are transient. So the fixity of purpose versus the transient nature of interest rates and markets and whatever. Because if you think about it, if you need $500 million to buy, so if I am Fontana and I want to buy York Pharmacy, and if they do it, they owe me a check, right? And they want to pay $500 million for it. They're still going to need the $500 million, whether rates are 1 or 3%. I said this: rising interest rates actually may create more opportunities for firms or more appeal for firms to raise capital via the equities market because it's more cost effective. I think, however, all being said, and specific to the local context, the debt to equity mix is not yet balanced. It probably is more so now with the flurry of listings we've had over the last few years. But if you look at 15 years ago, a company needed to expand, they had to go to the bank. Do they need to do that? No.
True, you don't
They,
got to.
they, they don't. They may say, oh, well, one of my founders wants out. Let me use the opportunity to raise capital to one, pay him out, but then two, raise more capital for the purpose of my expansion pursuits. So because our debt to equity mix is still not balanced yet, we're getting there, but we're still a little way away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it materially impacting the fundraising capacity or the fundraising appetite on the stock market as of right now, local stock market as of right now.
Mm.
And I mean, of course, companies that have listed have taken advantage of low interest rate debt, which they should. But the truth is, when companies list, banks start to run them down to lend them money anyway. The same banks that wouldn't lend them money when they were private. So listing actually lowers your cost of capital. So really and truly, those two those two variables are not at odds at all. You know what I mean? Because if you are if Wisynco is probably borrowing at a narrow shave above what one would classify as a risk-free rate. That's Wisynco. They can negotiate. They have $8 billion of cash. So they are not bound by, BOJ base rate plus this rate, that rate, this rate to try and find a number, because you're talking about your capital coming back. And plus the bank wants the business. And remember the saying goes, the bank lends a man $10 million, the man worries, right? The man lends a company $10 billion, the bank worries. So as you start to climb up that scale, the risk shifts. So I don't really think it's going to impact things much. I think we're too far down the road of momentum towards the equities market that for anything to shift it at all. The value has been established, and it's just not for more people to tap into it and create their own value or experience their own new value creation.
True. Because we're raising like consistent couple $1 billion per year in the equities market now.
Yeah, and it's going to be more. Yeah, there's going to be more. I mean, of course, with that, you're going to have some undesirable stuff, which is not the purpose of the discussion tonight. But the point is that you're still going to have persons participating in the growth of more businesses, which is as a result of the mechanism that the stock market has, created and facilitated.
All right, that's brilliant.
True.
Yeah. So.
All right, we'll cut Spur Tree here.
Yeah, you tell me.
Sure. So far, so good.
I'm out of questions on this side, so I just want anything else would be off the dome.
No, it's fine. I'll close and say this: that I think Spur Tree is one of, it's probably the first in the COVID transactions you're going to see coming to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I think you're going to see some really high value opportunities emerge for investors, for young people looking to start a life and build their own wealth, in addition to home ownership and whatever else. And I think we will look back on this conversation in a few years and be like, boy, whoever took the plunge really would have benefited in a unique way. Because you see, when the world is fully open again, I think there's going to be a premium on participation in investment instruments, because the good is going to be demanded. So the demand for the good and the reliable and the trustworthy and the strong, people are going to pay a premium for that. And I don't think that we're going to have these. I think as these deals come, and once COVID ends and you don't have your night ending at 10 o'clock legally, you know how it goes, anymore. Because, you're going to start to see an even further uptick in stuff like travel. You're going to have more foreigners coming to Jamaica for whatever reason, and adding to the domestic spend in the space to really create increased demand, which, if you think about it, which when metric constraints apply, created outsized inflation, which was why I said very early in writing that the BOJ made the right decision. Because inflation, I think in October was 8%. They did the brilliant move of upping rates, I think twice. I think maybe 6 and 8. I don't remember the exact number. And I know it's 7.8, so it stalled a bit because it's kind of pulled the brakes on some leisure demand, which is why now people are saying they don't expect to see a lot of cash circulating at Christmas. So I had to say that the policy position is what it is, but Spur Tree is a unique opportunity. Jamaica Fiberglass Products, JFP, unique opportunity, and those that will follow, some will be unique opportunities of businesses that said, we've grown in COVID. JFP did as well. We've grown in COVID, and we are now ready to take the next step. forward. Who wants to come in with us on the ground floor? Last point, I think there's going to be private equity or private transaction opportunities for people to buy or measure a reasonable stake of companies on the ground floor and then grow with them as they progress through that continuum towards listing.
Okay.
Boy, I really hope so. And that is something that we need to definitely talk more about at a different time,
Sure.
because the private equity space in Jamaica could be very lucrative if things happen in the right way,
Sure.
if I'm seeing things right. But
Sure.
I thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on and speaking with us about this Spur Tree IPO. I hope there's many more deals for us to have conversations about. Um, I'm glad you got it through. Congrats again, and big up and respect every time.
Thank you, guys. It's great. It's a lot of work.
Always a pleasure.
My pleasure. Blessings. Respect.